Our next guest tonight took a handoff on a hot September night in Tuscaloosa, Alabama in 1998 and ran for a career-long 19 yards against the Crimson Tide defense. Suited up with the Cougars between 1996 and 2000. We welcome Will Snowden to the Wise Guys tonight. Will, welcome to the show. Do you remember that run?
Yeah, I do. I actually shouldn't have ever made that run. I was hurt. I pulled my hamstring Thursday before we were leaving, and we needed me. I guess they still needed me to play, and I'm happy I got that run, but I was pretty beat up that game.
What was your fullback Kalani Sitake doing on that play?
Yeah, what was it? What was he doing?
I don't know if Kalani was in that play. I think that we were in a single back set there. So I think he was enjoying some pickle juice, which he needed. Because he got injured that game, actually. He took a pretty bad shot trying to make a play on a ball. So he was sitting I think he was either drinking pickle juice or he was on his back trying to get some things worked out from an injury. Where I should have been as well, because I limped up the sideline. If I was healthy, I would have walked. That would have literally been my best run, longest run, and it would have been about 60 or 70 yards. So.
Oh, man.
Well, look, you led the team in rushing with 27 yards. They had Sean Alexander, who had 5 touchdowns and a 38-31 showing. You lose by a touchdown back at Alabama. They weren't ranked that year, so they must have been in a rebuild. But it was you and Sean Alexander going toe-to-toe there for a couple minutes.
Yeah, I think I only had 2 carries, though. So I think that I was 2 carries for 27, 28 yards, and one was 19. And another one was maybe actually, and then another time they put me in on I think it was 3rd and 3 or 4th and 2 or something. It was a big run needed. And I'm like, why in the heavens am I in the game? So I'm hurting, but it worked out. I mean, it was a good game. And at least we got a chance to see the coming out of Sean Alexander, because he ran up and down the field on us. It was quite impressive.
And probably a pretty cool experience to be down in SEC country and play in that type of a venue, huh?
Well, man, it was exciting, and we fared really well. We had a chance to win the game. So a few things. I think if we would have been more healthy, I think we would have been able to win that game down there. But it was an unbelievable experience. The heat, the humidity, the fans, and it's a pretty green place to go play. So I enjoyed it, and that's one of my fondest memories, even though I was hurt and felt terrible.
Well, we want to take you another memory, only this time it's a win. It's a win, and I'm hoping you're healthy. Yeah, I'm hoping you're healthy in this game. We're going to take you to October 3rd, 1997. Utah State and BYU tied at 35, under 4 minutes to play. You get the ball on the 2-yard line. And as Austin Collie says, magic happens. You come away with a win 42-35. What about your memory of that one?
Well, that's just good living, that was a great memory to win the game. We actually drove all the way down. We had some real adversity that game with injuries to quarterbacks, and Paul came in and played really well. We had an injury to a couple backs, and I basically walked in the end zone. The O-line did a tremendous job hooking that end, and it was nice to put the Aggies to sleep in that way with an exciting, high-scoring game. So I remember that one. That's my first college touchdown my freshman year, so I'll never forget that one.
Here's another memory. November 8th, 1997. It's a shootout with Tulsa at Lavelle Edwards Stadium. Kevin Federick drops back from the 18-yard line, and what happens next?
Well, the only thing that should happen when I'm in the game is you throw the ball to me. So I had a nice little wheel route. I don't know. We might have been on the 25-yard line. I had that was my first receiving touchdown in college. So that's also a great memory. And I've got a lot of great memories. Most of my memories, though, I always tell people I do a lot of stuff with radio, and I mentor a lot of kids, and I just let people know my role at BYU was to be a role player, and I played a pretty solid role. I did a lot more blocking than anything else. We had great backs at that time, great fullbacks, great tailbacks, and my role was to catch it sometimes and then really just get in the way of someone and try and block a little bit. So I cherish those times. I cherish those relationships I have with the players I played with. And we won a lot of games, and that was what it was all about.
What is it about college football? We were just talking to Brian Keel, and he just told us that he's getting together with like 7 or 8 teammates, including my son Kellen that he played with, and they're all heading off on a golfing trip this weekend. What is it that makes college football so special that we all love to watch it, that you can remember plays from your freshman year, I can remember plays from my freshman year, kind of brings us all together, but also the relationships that seem like they just last for a lifetime? Why is college football so special that it can do all of those things?
Well, it's a sport that it is the ultimate team sport. I mean, you can play a lot of sports, and every sport is a team sport. We understand that, but nothing is like the team sport of football. You see it in basketball. It's really simple. If LeBron James came to play for BYU this year, I would be guaranteeing that we would be we'd be running deep into the tournament. That's one player can make that big of a difference. Same thing in baseball. If you have an ace pitcher, he can keep you in games. But in football, it's going to take every single guy and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, a lot of sacrifice. I came out of high school as a highly touted running back that was used to just getting the ball. That's what I like to do. Give it to me and let me run. And then I got to college and they said, actually, we have other guys who can run the ball as well as you or better. So you better figure out another way to make an impact on this team. And I finally figured out how to do it into my senior year. Took me a while to really sacrifice. But once you sacrifice for everyone and everyone's sacrificing for each other, it builds a pretty aggressive bond. And then also it's the time that's spent. You get to college and you get thrown into this fraternity of young men. And that bond does last a lifetime because you spend so much time together and you sacrifice so much for each other. You build wonderful relationships, and that's how it is. I mean, I played on great teams. I played on tremendous teams with great individuals, and so many of them have had so much success outside of football, i.e. Kalani Sitake, i.e. Steve Sarkisian. I mean, it can go on and on and on just in the coaching world, and then also in the business world with what guys have done. But I think it's just that you spend so much time together fighting for one goal and selling out for each other because you can't do it by yourself. That's what makes it special.
Will Snowden's on the Wise Guys tonight, ran the football for the great Lavelle Edwards at BYU. Let's talk about South Florida. What were you concerned about going into the game that you had answered as the Cougars came out?
So I'll be upfront with you. I don't know if you guys heard me. I did some radio last week, and I had zero concerns about going into the game.
All right.
I'm confident with what BYU would do. I thought that they wouldn't be ready for our trench play on the offensive line or the defensive line. I was confident that the running backs would come out and run hard. There's some things that I think will be a little bit even more effective this week running the ball. We did leave some yards out there this past weekend. If you break down the film, you'll see it. And I know that the coaches have actually identified that and they will fix that. But I really didn't have any concerns besides just, keeping everyone healthy moving into this week. Now, this week, there are concerns that I'll discuss. And I do think that BYU is up to the challenge, but there is definitely concerns because the Baylor Bears are not South Florida. They will.
Amen. Yeah.
They're very well coached. They're really big and physical, and they expect to really win. And there is no question. Sometimes teams come in to play a team, and they are telling themselves that they're going to win, but Baylor believes that they're going to win. They know they can win, and they know it's going to take BYU's best game to win that game. So 2 different weeks. That's what makes this thing great. I thought that Jaron looked exceptional. I think he managed the game really well. Lopini, I was most impressed with him running the ball. I think he was downhill and he really looks the part. I feel like his body you can tell he's went to work this offseason and in the right way.
Yeah, I talked to him today. He's going to sit down with us on the Game Day show on Saturday night on BYU TV, and he's healthy. It seems like he's had some nagging thing since 2017.
Yeah.
But I reminded him, you have 25 touchdowns. That's quite a bit for a guy who's been a role player the whole time.
He's sometimes unheralded, Will, but yet he's contributed every time he's on the field. Maybe, and in both the pass and the run game. but we got a glimpse of 100% healthy Lopini, and I think he was better than we all expected. Would you agree?
Oh, no doubt. Well, I've been a big Lopini fan for a long time. I've been involved with him in high school and worked with him pretty closely and got a chance to really watch him do his work in high school. And what people don't know is Lopini can be just as effective on the defensive side of the ball. He could have chose to play safety and be a BYU great. Him at running back, he really is one of those unsung heroes who plays his role very well and extremely effectively. But this year, he's coming with a little bit more than I think everyone expected. He's got an extra step. He's faster this year. He's bigger. And obviously, he's extremely comfortable in this game now. I mean, it seems like I've been watching him play for 20 years, right?
Yeah.
It just seems like he's been there forever. But one thing that I know they can count on, he's the guy that is kind of the face of the program as far as just being able to count on his production. And I'm excited to continue to watch it this season. I got a chance to see him today a little bit and talk to him and let him know how much I'm appreciating his efforts and let him know how good he looks. I mean, he really does look really good. The whole backfield does too, though. I mean, when you have three backs when you watch McChesney run the ball, another kid that I've been close with and love him. I mean, he gets downhill effectively. The ball's high and tight. He runs hard. He's explosive. Obviously, Brooks looks good. He's getting comfortable in the offense, and I think it's only upward for him. So the Cougars are dang sure dangerous this year.
So, Will, last year in Waco, BYU lost the line of scrimmage. Couldn't run the football and couldn't stop the Bears. This year, as BYU lines up, they line up with some NFL guys who've evolved, and there's no freshmen now in that mix. We had started 2 freshmen on the right side in Waco last year. So that matchup, and then flip it over to the other side of the ball where the Bears have 4 starters back on the offensive line, and BYU has a lot of experience on the D-line. So let's talk about the trench. What are you concerned about, and what are you optimistic about in those 2 matchups?
Well, so I'm very optimistic about what we're going to do up front on the offensive side of the ball. I'll line this O-line up against anyone in the country. And when I say anyone, I literally mean anyone. It doesn't matter. This is probably the best O-line we've ever had, and we've had some great O-lines. But this is a very, very, very experienced and very, very talented group. Which all of them. I mean, we're gonna have some high draft picks on that line, and I said picks, not just one, because obviously Freeland is freak, and everyone expects that. But I think LaChance is special. So I'll line the line up against anyone in the country. I'm still going to. What I do want to see is how we hold up on the defensive front. This O-line is, whenever Mateos and Grimes, they're known for O-line play. They're going to be nasty. They are very big, heavy-handed, and they have great feet. And they really do come. This is the type of game you want as a D lineman or the whole front 7, the backers as well, because they're going to come out ready to fight you. They're going to punch right. They're going to punch early. They're going to jab early. They're going to throw haymakers early. And the question will be, will you fight back? And so this will be the biggest challenge that BYU has seen in several games. Obviously, it's not South Florida, like I said, but I do think they're up to the challenge. What Elisa and that whole defensive line coaching staff needs to make sure of is the pad level has to be right. Because if the pad level is wrong, you will see people being driven off the ball, and it will not be pretty. And so I do think that we'll spend a lot of time fundamentally this week, making sure the pad level, the strikes are where they need to be, and that you're in the gap that you need to be in, and that you're holding those gaps, because they do an exceptional job. Everyone knows that Coach Grimes is probably the most respected O-line coach in the country. I think that Coach Grimes is going to come in here with a real chip on his shoulder. He wants to win this game, and he wants to do it in dominant fashion. He wants to dominate the line of scrimmage, and that's going to be the fight for Saturday night, and it'll be fun to watch.
One of our we're still talking about the 2 groups up front, offensive, defensive line, really the front 7 on D. But one of our listeners asked, Freeland, Barrington, or Kingsley Somatea, who stood out the most to you against South Florida?
Oh man, they all looked really good. I was excited to see Kingsley back in. So it's not a fair question for me because I wasn't very impressed with Kingsley, but obviously I've been a long time, big time friend, big time fan of Kingsley. So I watched him a little bit closer. But Freeland he's as good as he's as good as advertised. He's as good as they come. I haven't seen a tackle at BYU as dominant since John Tate. And John Tate was a big-time first-round draft pick who played in the NFL forever. That's my expectation for Freeland. But that's also my expectation for, three other of the guys. That's a nasty group of young men.
We broke down a play today, Will, on our After Further Review show. It was a screen, a bubble screen, and Freeland was at left tackle, and he made the key block on a corner on the sideline. He got out there as quick as the screen player got out there. And I just commented, I said, dudes that big are not supposed to be able to be that agile and get out there that quick. He really is a freak, isn't he?
He's an absolute freak. I mean, he is an absolute freak. Now, Kingsley is an absolute freak as well. And so is LaChance. They've just these guys have put in the work off season, during season, but you just don't look like that and move like that without putting in extra work. And it's obvious that they've put in the work. But Freeland, like I said, it's just I've got to contain myself when I get home to this guy do this. This guy is special. I mean, that's what it is. He's special, and I think it's helped him a lot with playing so many different sports and playing so many different positions. I mean, he's just a freak athlete. Period.
Will Snowden is with us. We're going to ask you for a prediction in just a couple of minutes on that game for Saturday night. Your profession involves a lot of teaching, evaluating, creating opportunities for high school kids to get to the level of football that we're talking about here tonight on the Wise Guys and get a college education. Alpha recruits, Alpha camps. Tell us about that.
So what we do is the focus is, several years ago I had a kid coming out, my oldest son, and I was a little lost on, what's the best direction to take him. Really good player. It's so tough for parents and even high school coaches if you're not in this all the time, to really identify where your son sits, right? Where your player sits. So the biggest thing that we try and do is we have four things that we focus on. We want to educate you, help you understand how this business works, because college football is a major business. It's a big step away from high school football.
Yeah.
Number two, we want to train you because we want to make sure that I want to be able to call coaches and email coaches and utilize my relationships nationally, but I want to be able to give them a true evaluation. So we train our kids. Then we mentor these kids and we mentor them. And I call that you kind of mentoring them, making sure that we're covering everything from mental strength to whatever it is they need. And then we market the heck out of the kids. I spend time calling, emailing. That's my whole life, actually, calling and emailing and bothering coaches. And it takes a lot of time. It's kind of a 24-hour job, 7 days a week. But I do it because I love these kids and their dream of playing college football. And we have a lot of kids playing college ball. Another thing is I wanted to be more aggressive with getting Utah on the map as far as the talent that it has. This is one of the most under-recruited, underrated states. And as you've seen over the few years, it's starting to get better and better and better. And it comes from people like me, but not just me. There's more people in this state that are taking advantage of spending time with these kids and marketing these kids and reaching out to coaches and telling their story, because at the end of the day, a lot of it comes down to hearing the kid's story, because there's so many kids. It's so overwhelming for recruiting coordinators and position coaches because there's so much access to kids, but that means you have access to literally hundreds of thousands of kids and you don't have the time to evaluate them. It's not like when we were coming out and, people were sending VHS tapes. I mean, with Twitter and email, you can imagine how many emails the BYU recruiting coordinator is getting every day of film. It's hundreds and thousands of emails. We focus on creating relationships with coaches, building trust in what we do as far as how we train, and then we're able to create relationships with our players and connect them with coaches. And we've been very successful. And this year is a great year. We have a great class. I got a great 2024 class and 2025 class. And so I mean, I'm complaining about all the work, but it's a pretty cool job.
That is awesome. We just put up on our site, both at Twitch and on our YouTube, the link so people can learn more about Alpha Recruits. You have a fun thing going right now. We were just talking to Brian Keel, and he was going to football practice with his 8-year-old. With Cruz, that's his oldest, and he's coaching the 8-year-olds, and we're talking about what he loves. You've had a chance. Smith is your son that's in that age group right now, where you're doing all these things you're just talking about with Smith. How much fun is that to be able to coach your boy and to help him with these decisions and get him ready for that?
Well, it's been quite fun. I mean, Smith's an exceptional young man. I mean, he really is. What a blessing he's been to our family, and you know, he kind of gets it. He at a young age he had goals that he wanted to aspire to accomplish, and he went out and worked for it, and we gave him the blueprint because both of my other sons have played college football. My oldest son, Drayden, he went to Utah State out of high school. Then he ended up transferring, and he was a 3-year starter at nickel for Weber State, so he played for Jay Hill. My other son went to Snow College, played 2 years there, but had some injuries and had to step away. So, and you know, we come from a major football family. Both my father played. He played in the NFL with the Skins. My brother played with the Denver Broncos and the Toronto Argonauts. So we have a long line of football players, but it's been fun. Smith's gotten a lot of recognition, and he deserves it all. I mean, he really does deserve it because of his work ethic. And now I'm just trying to figure out where he's going to end up going to college, and hoping that, you know, not trying to put any pressure on him at all, but just hoping he makes the right decision.
You know, we had Brandon Doman on with us last week, and we told everybody, hey, watch that Skyridge football team. You got a Doman at one corner and a Snowden at the other corner, right?
It's pretty crazy. He's a great little player as well. That's a loaded team. Big game this week against Tempe, who has a lot of talent, a lot of BYU. Got a lot of guys that BYU is recruiting aggressively on both teams. So I'm excited to watch that. But once again, as far as working with Smith and guiding him through this, it's been fun. He picked up a big SEC offer today from Tennessee. So he's got a lot of suitors coming after him, and we'll see what he ends up doing.
How is today's athlete different from when you were coming out of Boulder High School in Colorado a few years back?
Well, I'll tell you, the elite athlete, I mean, I was an elite athlete coming out, and and there's just no way I would be able to keep up with what these guys are doing. The work ethic is different. Also, the opportunities that they have. I mean, if you look at my program, you know, and who I have working with our players positionally, my son Drayden is probably one of the better DB specialists in the country. He does an exceptional job. He is the reason that Smith is as effective as he is. But also a lot of our corners in secondary, you know, he works with them and trains them. And so these guys are more year round with training, right? They're concerned about their nutrition. They're eating better. They're running obviously so much faster than we were running. And it just comes down to their commitment to training and health. I will say, and so I do think it's just the support they get as well. So are they so much better? Yes. And it's because they work more and they have access to more information to be better.
You know, we just talked about BYU up front, especially on the offensive line, and I agree with you 100%, Will, and that is they have multiple NFL picks in that program now. How do you feel about BYU's recruiting and the talent level as they move? It seemed like it was forever. Like now they're moving into the Big 12 next fall. Have they recruited, and is the recruiting in a position where they're going to be able to compete in that league from a talent perspective?
I think we still have some work to do. I mean, you know, BYU, we still aren't as deep as we need to be, obviously. You know, that's something we need to be better at. But I do trust Kalani and the rest of the staff to go and recruit these players aggressively, because, you know, in the independent era, you know, we can recruit kind of independently. Now we're going to be competing against all of those schools up on the wall. Plus we're going to be competing against the schools that get added. So we're really going to have to, you know, step up our recruiting to win some of the talent that we want. That's LDS talent. That's all talent. we're going to have to really step it up and be more aggressive. And I think they've made some hires to put themselves in position because they understand that's going to happen. So right now, I feel like we're going in the right direction. It comes down to getting some top guys. Smith Snowden being one of them. We've lost a couple guys that I was hoping to get, and Hunter Clegg and some other individuals. But at the end of the day, BYU is going to be BYU. We're going to fight you till the end. We're going to play with tradition. I just want to make sure that, that kids understand what BYU football is, because, some of these kids coming out, my son was born in 2005 or whatever. So his experience of everything that happened before 2005 in Brigham Young football, sometimes these guys don't truly understand the tradition that Brigham Young football actually brings. And so I hope parents and I hope fans and I hope the kids will actually understand what it means to play for BYU football and understand how much of a big deal it is, because traditionally we're a top 25 program who've won every big game you can imagine, and we will continue to because of our tradition and our fight and who we are and what we stand for.
We were on game day the other night, and Brian Logan said that we asked a history question. He goes, I don't go back any further than 2009. So then I reintroduced him to David Nixon and Blaine Fowler.
I was like, wait a minute. Hey,
who had come before him.
I was like, Bilo, I'm going to bring my national championship ring in and so you can see it sometime.
Yeah, and that's how it is. So that's what I will say. I feel like when I was coming out, I was really more well-versed historically on what was going on in football. I think that the kids today, they don't spend as much time actually watching football. They, don't get me wrong, they watch film, but they're not sitting around on a Saturday or a Sunday after church or whatever they do, just watching games. The majority, because you have your phone and you have these distractions, and they get a chance to look at more highlights than just actually breaking down, watching a whole college game or watching a whole NFL game. So they're not understanding the history of what the things that came before them. So I try and spend a lot of time with Smith, helping him identify players who came before him so he can respect that. All of the BYU guys who came before him and all the schools that are recruiting him, and NFL guys besides just the guys who are there now, because there's so much to learn from it.
That's a great perspective to bring to your son. I love that.
A couple more minutes with Will Snowden. Dave Almadova is going to join us at the top of the hour. I love that thing on the wall behind you. A good name is better than wealth. Are you telling these kids a good name is better than wealth as they chase dollar signs and all that's changed now with how recruits sign with colleges?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing. I mean, we live by that mantra in our home, and it's something that I preach to all the kids. I mean, everything to me is who are you in your community, right? So I spend a lot of time with my kids on the things that really matter to me. And what I think obviously really matter in this world. Football's great. I don't want anyone I mentor to be thrown in the football box. So I don't want my son thrown in the football box. He's much more than a great football player, and he'll always know that. But yes, your name means everything. Who you are in your community means everything, and we want to make sure that my guys know that. Here comes Smith walking.
Hey,
right
Smith.
Now.
How's it going?
Good.
Hey, I went and watched him play, Will. I didn't know I was going to go watch him play. Hey, I went and watched you play. Smith did a great job. I was sitting up by Brandon. The reason I went was because my granddaughter was in the dance thing at halftime. So we went up and watched that, and then I had the great treat to be able to watch Smith, and we didn't get to see Brandon's boy because he was injured. But you're opposite corner, Smith. But excited for you guys up there at Sky Ridge. Great coaching staff, a lot of tradition. You guys are rolling. That's fun. That's fun stuff.
Yeah, we are. It's gonna be a fun season.
Yep.
Hey, Smith, does your dad ever talk to you about when he ran for 19 yards on a carry in Tuscaloosa against Alabama on a hot, humid night?
Wait, and let's add, with a pulled hamstring.
With a pulled hamstring,
he went for 19
Career-long run against the Crimson Tide. Does that ever come up over dinner?
Talking about that. He was the leading rusher. He's always talking about it. Back to the glory days.
First off, I'm not always talking about it, but sometimes you have to let these youngsters know that I've been there and done it as well.
That's awesome.
Great stuff. Great stuff.
All right, let's get your prediction for Saturday. What's it going to be?
Well, I've been struggling with this as I break it down, trying to identify what I think is going to happen in the game. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys what I'm going with. I'm going 31-27 Cougars.
I went 31-28 on after further review today.
So
Will and I think a lot alike.
You and Will are I went 34-24 is what I picked. Brian Keel picked 28-24. He says it's 3.5 points. He says they're going to cover though, 28-24. We all have the Cougs winning, which I like. And we're all a similar. It sounds like we're all pretty confident that BYU is going to be able to score on this Baylor defense. We're all kind of in that. Everybody we've talked to, high 20s to the mid 30s is that what our general consensus from everybody we're talking to. But you're right close to McCann on that one, Will. You guys are close.
Well, I think that's what I'm expecting, and I think that the fan base is going to be pretty excited for this game. I think the Rock will be rocking, and I'm going to be in there watching it. I'm excited to watch it, and I think the boys are ready. But we're a few days away, and we've got some. There are some things offensively. 31 points, McCann, with us saying those points. That means we expect a lot of people to step up offensively with questions on Puka, questions on Gunner. But whenever you have a quarterback at the level of Jaron Hall and the way he's playing right now, you've got a wonderful shot.
Yeah, that's what it all comes down to. When that quarterback is spreading the ball around and getting to 12 different receivers he found this last game, it's impressive, and that makes all the difference. That's why I say they get into the 30s in this game because of Jaron Hall.
All right, let's wrap up with 5 questions. Rapid fire. You ready?
Yep.
Favorite sports movie?
Ooh, that's
Suddenly we're not so ready, are we? Yeah. Now we're getting into the
my favorite. That's a really tough one, but I'll go with Remember the Titans.
Yes. That's mine as well, and it's also Brian Keel's. We were going on a Hoosier streak here the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. Because that's, to be honest, Hoosiers is a really classic movie. I really love that movie, but I'll still stick with Remember the Titans.
I love. I'm glad you went football. You know who started the Hoosiers thing? Marie Osmond was on the show a couple weeks ago, and Marie starts Hoosiers, and then for the next couple weeks it's Hoosiers. So
she didn't even hesitate either. It was it's the best movie.
So Remember
Hoosiers.
the Titans. We love it. All right. Favorite band or singer?
U2. No. My favorite band or singer?
Yeah, it could be a band or a singer. It could be a solo artist.
Favorite band is I'll go with band, and I'll go with Dave Matthews.
Oh, Dave Matthews Band. That's old school. Okay. Feeling that.
Favorite breakfast cereal?
Oh man, this is another great one, but I'll go with Cinnamon Life.
Thank you very much. That's mine as well. Will, you and I need to hang because
Keel went with just life.
Yeah, he
just
went with plain
life.
old life. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Cinnamon Life.
Who did that?
Brian
Keel.
You know he's got problems. I mean, wow.
Nobody eats regular life.
Does he eat regular Cheerios too?
That's you know what?
Probably.
Who told us? I think Brandon Doman said regular Cheerios. No, he said.
I thought he said O's.
He said O's. That's right.
O's?
And I said, "Do they have sugar on them?" He's like, "Yep." I'm like, "Okay, I'm good with that." So, okay, your favorite ice cream?
You know, I'm not a big ice cream guy, but I am. But when I do ice cream, I go with Oreo. But I really like Oreo and cookie dough mixed.
Oreo and cookie dough mixed. So if it's not ice cream, what's your favorite kind of cheat food dessert?
I'm very weak for cake.
Oh, okay.
All right. Fifth one and final one for the great Will Snowden. Your favorite BYU memory?
Mine, was I involved with the memory or?
You know, it doesn't have to be. It could be one you were involved with where you played, or one that you just remember that just sticks in your mind as a great moment.
Favorite BYU memory, there's so many greats, but I would probably say my favorite memory for me, I'll go with one I played in. We went down to Virginia in 2000, my senior year. We were getting smacked in the first half, and we came back and devastated them in overtime to win the game while they opened their new stadium. The crowd was crazy. We played terrible. We turned it on in the second half and silenced quite a big crowd.
Was that the Engelman?
I think Engelman was your quarterback.
Was Brett the one that came in and just threw like a crazy man in the second half? That was the one, right?
Yeah, Ingeman went crazy. That was the year of the, we played a lot of quarterbacks, but Ingeman was special that game.
Yep, I see Brett at the gym all the time lifting. He still looks like he could go play.
Oh, for sure. He looks great.
Big, handsome dude. So, yep, I remember that game well. That's a great one.
Hey, I'm going to throw one bonus question at you, and we appreciate your time. We probably kept you longer than you expected. This expansion of the college football playoff, does it save the current P5s as they are for the next 6 years, the conferences?
I feel really comfortable with it. I've been screaming for this since the beginning of the playoffs. I do think it saves and gives us all a little bit more hope with what the opportunity can be. And at the end of the day, dollars make sense to these people. That's why we're going to get there. But also, obviously, I always love the underdog, and I'm voting for the underdog. So as soon as we get to 12, who I'll be pulling for is number 12, no matter who it is, unless they're playing my Cougs. I'm excited for it, and I do think it saves it.
All right.
Awesome.
Will Snowden, thank you for joining us. We hope you'll join us again down the road.
Thanks for having me, guys. Anytime. Go Cougs. Big weekend ahead of us. So we'll see about this score.
Hey, congratulations with all you're doing on the field and off the field, especially for these kids who are marching into college and into life. And we salute you for that.
Yeah, we love the things that you're teaching. Those are great things.
I appreciate it, guys. Hey, you have a great night. I love the show. Keep it up.
Thanks, Will.
Will Snowden ran the football. Probably should have ran it a little more than he had. Could have had a few more throws his way. But he is a strong voice in this recruiting world.
Yes.
And he loves the Cougs, and he had a chance to play as Lavelle wrapped up his career.
Yes, he did.
Great story.
And Will's always been, when he was there and since he's left BYU, just a great representative of BYU and what it's all about. So we're so glad that we got a chance to have Will on the show with us tonight.